Okay, it's now 5 o'clock. I want to call the committee of the whole to order. Roll call, please.
Tim Schroeder,
Here.
Peter Harvey,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Ron Dunwoody is absent, Scott McClory,
Here.
Ken Minell,
Here.
Dan Roberts,
Here. I do want to state it's February 16th, 2026. Kind of missed that. Okay, so first action or item is discussion regarding impact of Town of Lafayette pending withdrawal from EAFD service agreement on the fire department's operations. Item A is discussion regarding impact on cost allocation for fire service among city, town of Sugar Creek, and town of Geneva. Do I go through them all at once?
That's up to you
No.
as the chair of the meeting.
Well, because I haven't seen them broke out like this before.
Right. So I think, yeah, probably each item. I imagine there's some presentation items.
All right, Adam?
Yeah, we broke them down by item to try to provide some discussion topics. You'll see in the council packet, there was a spreadsheet that, not that one, but there you go. Yep. There's a spreadsheet that shows the 2026 budget. And of course, Lafayette's termination won't be effective for 3 years, but we wanted to try to start planning for that because obviously to the extent that operations have to change, that's going to take time. And so we looked at the 2026 budget and just said, hey, using the 26 budget as a guide, what would happen if you reallocated the percentages for the cost allocation? What is the impact on the budget in terms of the share that the other jurisdictions, including Elkhorn, would have to pay? And you can see that on the fire side, it would total $361,000 would be what Elkhorn, Geneva, and Sugar Creek would have to pay on the fire side. And then on the EMS side, it's $95,509. And again, that's just to give you an illustration for what would look like with the 26 budget. We did put the 25 budget actual just so you can see what the 25 actual costs are, just for informational purposes. Keep in mind we haven't done the audit yet for 25, and some of those costs are going to go up for 25 because we're in the midst of a fire union negotiation right now, and there were no wage increases in 25, so that was going to increase those costs for 25 if that were to if those wages had gone up in 25. So this is the information we wanted to share on, I'd say, topics A and B. Okay. And just one clarification too, just for the budget for the fire side, that's only the operating costs. It doesn't include any of the capital expenditures. The intent being that with capital, we can certainly spread out purchases and in terms of the operational with personnel, that's going to be more structural. That's going to take time to adjust. So the focus on the fire side was just the pure operating budget. EMS, that does include both capital and operations because the EMS fund allocates money every year to a capital improvement fund or capital equipment replacement fund that pays for all the capital. So we don't bill anybody, the city or the towns, anything extra for capital on the EMS side. So.
Okay, discussion?
If I may.
Yes, Mayor.
We had a fire advisory board meeting a month ago. Weeks fly by, I'm not sure, it was a month ago approximately. And we did talk about this there. One of the things, you can go about this, a real simple way to do it is take the pot of money and just reallocate the percentages, Lafayette's gone, and come up with a new number. That's difficult for us and it's difficult for the towns. And so our thought at that meeting, or at least what I suggested, everything should be on the table to cut costs or find new revenue, some combination to, make it so it's just not a straight percentage. So, I guess I'd would like to see some sort of plan to address,
Yeah, it was
the
gonna,
overall
based
budget.
on that, what kind of options do we have?
Yeah, don't know them now, so.
Yeah. I mean, is that reducing the workforce? I mean, if we're not covering as much, or,
We're understaffed with just the city. I mean, realistically, with what we have for industrial, commercial, and the number of residential units, we should be staffing more than we are, especially the way we're double stacking calls and triple stacking calls. And it's just such a long ride out to some of the townships to get, as far as response times. I don't know. The level of service is gonna go down drastically by cutting staff. We get 2 medical calls, what happens if we have a fire call? Who's coming in to fight a fire?
Does using paid on call help us budget-wise and still retain your level of coverage?
So currently, every year I have to do a maintenance of effort, which started 2 years ago. That counts full-time employees as what they want to know what you have employed. So that's all tied into shared revenue from what I'm reading under DSPS and under the Department of Revenue. And if you have to maintain what you have the year prior or increase. You can't go down in level of service. So I don't know how that looks like if we would lose a township, but they have the right at that point to start picking out a shared revenue is what I'm seeing in the Department of Revenue. So that was implemented 2 years ago. So in '24, they started this maintenance of effort, and it's trying to keep staffing at the levels that we're currently there and not go down.
How much is the overall fire department budget going to move if Lafayette steps away? Obviously, it's one additional township that we don't have to respond to, and that impacts things like fuel, equipment, everything else. So I can't imagine that if we have Elkhorn, obviously, as our primary, and then you got the other couple of townships that are still there, I can't imagine the budget remains the same, am I wrong? Because it's gonna be one less township we go to calls for. X amount of reduction in
so
whatever.
less expenses,
Right,
in theory.
right, in theory, like less in gas, less in tires, less in whatever. I'm just asking. Or is there no impact? I would think there has to be an impact.
I think the impacts can be very minimum because the biggest cost for the fire department is personnel. I mean,
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is I'm just throwing out a number here, just so you understand my point. 1.6 million is the budget for the fire department right now, just hypothetically. If you remove Lafayette, when the budget proposal gets turned in the future without Lafayette, it doesn't stay at 1.6, does it?
If we keep the same amount of people, personnel,
I understand the personnel thing. I understand what he's saying about that. I'm saying is like, if Lafayette is, again, I'm just throwing out spitballing numbers so I can make my point, and maybe I'm not landing the plane. If Lafayette costs us 21% worth of our fuel budget or whatever, but now we're not going to Lafayette anymore. Don't have 21% less on maintenance of the vehicles, 21% less of whatever.
I know what you're saying, but I think that's a small number.
It may be a small number, but I guess my point is, if the budget is 1.5 for this year with Lafayette, 3 years from now, or again, let's just assume that tomorrow's the day Lafayette leaves. The 2027 budget is not going to be at 1.5 because you're not going to have a township to cover.
I think they're saying it'd still be 1.45.
Okay, well, it's
You know,
something.
that's- yeah, oh, yeah, it's definitely less,
Yeah, okay, that's all I'm trying to say.
So,
Yeah.
The surrounding areas like Delavan and Lake Geneva, do they have a full-time fire department like ours?
No, Delavan is staffing an ambulance, town of Delavan is staffing an ambulance, Lake Geneva's a combination department. But Lake Geneva's, they just took over town of Lynn, they are moving more towards a career model.
is it possible to go back to the 2025 actuals and, to Scott's point, actually see what that kind of reduction would be using fuel costs and everything else? Because we can figure out how many miles we went, so on and so forth, and do the average. This is about how much it was, fuel costs, et cetera, and deduct a little bit. It's not gonna be perfect, but you could come up with some sort of estimate of what kind of reduction that would be.
You could presumably take a percentage of the fuel budget, but I'm just saying the fuel budget was not $350,000.
No, I'm
so-
just using fuel as an
Yeah.
example, but on every call, there's expenses that are involved, and you could break it out into man-hour cost, per se, of what it is to go there, to kind of get a hypothetical total cost. I'm not saying just fuel, to Scott's point, I'm saying everything that would be involved, to see if there's, what that number kind of looks like, even though we're saying it's about this or about that. Let's do a little bit better estimate to kind of see what it would be.
I guess for me, the cumulative effective, like, again, if we spend $120,000 on gauze every year, I don't know. Without going to Lafayette and their 2,600 calls a year or whatever the hell they are, we go to every year, that's 26, 22, whatever that number is, there should be a decrease in all of those supplies and equipment and whatever, because we're not gonna need them. And I don't know the number of, I know the list, the total list might be relatively small, but it's still a number.
But what is the total amount? If they drop out, we don't get a penny from Lafayette. Is that $450,000 a year? Is it $500,000 a year? I mean, that's the number we're looking at. And that would be split then between the three of us that would remain, but that's still a big number to cover.
Right.
A big number.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to put, like, operating supplies for the fire department for this year was $10,000 was the total amount on the budget. Vehicle fuels was $18,500. There's another category of supplies, consumable tools is $20,500. Other supplies expenses $8,000. So, all total, maybe you've got $40,000 in supplies. So for the fire department, so they make up 18%, 17% of total calls. So you could say maybe 17% of the $50,000 that you would potentially save. So, which is $8,500. So.
Other thoughts, questions?
And we can,
Ideas?
we can go through the other line items and do that, look at all the supplies, put them together and tell you what 17% of those numbers are. I mean, that's certainly part of the analysis.
I think it would be helpful, and we all understand that, it's not gonna be this huge number, but we should have an understanding basically what's gonna happen.
Well, let me, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So if we cut to the chase, if we have 450,000 we have to make up, and our percentage is 60% approximately, that's 250,000, something like that?
Yep.
In 3 years, where would that come from, Adam?
Honestly, it would have to come from another department. You would have to make cuts in other departments to do that.
So that's one less snowplow or
Yep.
whatever. Or, I'm just spitballing here, but less of a donation to the library every year,
Yes.
or whatever it would happen to be.
I mean, put in perspective, our property taxes that have gone up, at least for like the general fund side of the budget, have only gone up $300,000 since 2021. So, point being, trying to cover almost 250,000 just on the fire side, and then you have to throw in the EMS side too. I mean, that, again, last year we only raised the operating levy by $17,000 total. I mean, so that should give you a perspective as to how significant the $250,000 to $350,000 would be for the city's budget.
So on that note, then, would it make sense to start looking at what-if scenarios for all departments now?
And that's the reason I'm bringing
Yeah.
this conversation up.
So I'd be looking to you and Corey and all the other department managers, what-if scenarios. We try to come up with that number.
Or what if we went and cut some people?
Well, I'm saying that would be part of it.
That would be.
That'd be the department managers, they should all be getting together and say, how, the bogey is $250,000. That's what we gotta figure out, how you gonna get there. You got all these departments, all these responsibilities. If you cut this and someone retires, we don't replace, whatever, it's, should do a holistic approach, what's involved, to try to come up with that number. Not saying that's what we would do, but put the push back on the responsibility. You got directors, managers, these people that are responsible. They know their departments better than anybody. If you have to shave, how do you shave? For me to walk in and say, okay, Matt, cut $200,000 blindly, that would be foolish. He knows his budget better than anybody. He would say, okay, I can come up with 30,000, 40,000, whatever. And everybody looks at their sections and what can they come up with? So we can get a better understanding what we're gonna be looking at over the next couple of years. So we can start planning. It's another idea. Because going to the taxpayers and saying, by the way, here's a nice big check that you're gonna have to pay, is gonna go over very poorly. And after this past tax bill, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of upset people, including me. And not all of it was on the city, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that are standing in front of the people because we're closest to home.
And that's why last week I said maybe we shouldn't be buying more land.
So we're gonna look at options.
That's what I would suggest. Other thoughts?
So all departments?
I would say anybody that spends money in the city as a leader should be looking at it. Everyone. Or am I missing something?
No?
I think the constituents are gonna be looking at it when they see the big bold headline, you know, Lafayette drops out, no longer covered by Elkhorn Area Fire Service. They're gonna say, you don't need that many people anymore at the firehouse. You no longer cover that whole township.
And why should we tell the police they can't hire an extra officer if we got more on the fire department than we need? At that point.
I don't think we're saying that right now. I'm
Cut-
saying,
cut in departments?
I didn't say that. I said we should be reviewing to see if there's opportunities to do that, including the fire department. That is part of this
Right.
discussion.
Right.
Every department.
Yeah.
Right? Every department should be looking at what-if scenarios. It's no different than anybody does at home when the bills go up. You got to cut something. Who's got a money tree in their backyard? I know I don't. So you got to make choices every day. That's why we're in these roles, to make those tough choices. So,
The only thing I would mention is looking at other fire departments, Fitchburg, Burlington, Fox Crossing, Sun Prairie, De Pere, Grand Chute, Verona, DeForest, they're all career departments and they all have paid on call, paid on premises firefighters. So they seem to find that helps cover their shifts during the day, during the peak periods, so then that they're there during those periods. So that might be something that the department should start looking at, because I know right now they're struggling to cover the hours. They're struggling to cover the shifts they have now because we're restricting it to full-time career, full-time employees. And so then the firefighters we do have are stressed out because they're short-staffed and they don't have anybody to help cover shifts during the peak periods. So if we were to look at more part-time options, that might help cover some of those periods, especially because we're having a shortage trying to find paramedics. just as an FYI, the Village of DeForest, which has the same population we do of 10,000, they have 15 full-time employees, and they have 60 part-time paramedics, EMTs, and firefighters, and they have 1,900 calls per year, which I think is pretty close to where we're at. So it might be something to explore.
Okay, so, yeah, I agree. So what do you need to explore? You're looking for us to say, go explore? Go explore. Come to the table with all sorts of options. You've been doing this a long time. You used to do this,
From this side of it, but yeah.
but, come to the table with different scenarios. Everything should be on the table. Everything. Or am I out in left field?
It's gotta come from somewhere.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Do you want me to call the state and see if we're even gonna be allowed to do that?
Sure.
Well, if other departments like DeForest can do it, how come they say we can't do it?
But have they been combination, they didn't go career because it's moving backwards and you're not maintaining your maintenance of effort. So that's what I would need to find out.
Sure.
Okay.
I would say.
I just don't
find
wanna
out.
lose shared revenue for the city.
I understand that.
Well,
and I
yeah,
appreciate that.
I guess propose it both ways, we're considering doing this, and if I do, am I allowed to, and if I do, do some career and some paid on call, how much would my, shared revenue stream drop if I do that, if I choose that option?
Right. Again, everything should be on the table.
I would think a call to DeForest Fire Department chief would be able to tell you. Wouldn't he know? What he's getting in shared revenue with career career firefighters and some paid on call?
Well, I think to the chief's point on that, he's just saying, well, because DeForest is currently operating this way, so they can certify that they haven't gone backwards from what the chief is saying. So he's saying if we were to shift to that, would it be perceived as a shift backward on the maintenance? So
But we no longer have a whole township we're covering.
So reach out to the state, please. Okay? And any other ideas that you guys can think of, let's bring them back.
Well, my question would be, if there are options out there, are we going to wait 3 years and then go, guess what? Midnight tonight, everything changes.
No, I'd say this is a process where we start getting our ducks in a row, and if we,
I think we're setting ourselves up for failure if we wait until the witching hour. I really do.
I don't think that's the intent.
I hope not. I'm just making my voice heard.
Right now, we have just under 3 years, and, the sooner we get in front of it, the sooner we understand what's involved, the better off we're gonna be. And I'm not saying everybody walk out here going, well, I'm updating my resume either. I'm not saying that. Just saying, do the due diligence, to be responsible, and understand where we're at.
Mr. President, to that end, item 3D on the agenda is for discussion and possible decision regarding whether you want to designate a subcommittee of council members to help evaluate this further to bring back some suggestions, or do you want to keep it at the work of the full committee of the whole?
What do you guys think?
I think committee as a whole.
I would think so. I think everybody's got a say in this one,
Has
so.
some input in and
Yeah.
ideas or whatever, moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, we're in committee of the whole, please.
the only other thing I just would add to this conversation is, it's not also just about the city, but you also have the town of Geneva and the town of Sugar Creek. So, even if we as a city can find by, finding savings in other departments to offset it, that doesn't help cover the town of Geneva or the town of Sugar Creek. And so that's another,
I understand.
so.
But they have to have those same conversations that we're doing.
I assume that'll be if it hasn't already, it's gonna be on a future, fire advisory committee meeting, right? Yeah. Thought so.
But to the chief's point of checking out with the state, what kind of options that we have will also be helpful, because that plays into it, because we are partners with them.
Right.
But if we're restricted on what we can do, then they understand it's not us. But taking a proactive approach, understanding what opportunities we may have, would be foolish not to look at this point. And it could go nowhere, but not taking the effort and looking is irresponsible on our part, in my opinion. But again, I'm just one guy, one vote. Okay? Did we cover all the items?
I think so.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Do I have to read all those in, or we're good?
No, you don't. But I would suggest that you discuss when you want to have a follow-up meeting to kind of keep the ball rolling, and then you would table this discussion to a date certain.
2 weeks? I like doing it right in front of the council meeting. We've already carved out that time, one half more hour, more, you know what I'm saying?
Half hour more? yes.
Thank you, unless that's gonna impact you, because I know sometimes you run right up against it.
We're good.
Okay.
So, there you go. Everybody in favor of doing that? So,
Does 2 weeks give
they'll have something.
something?
You'll have something?
I should be able to get a hold of the state by then.
Okay. So you should have some preliminaries. When's your next department head meeting?
Well, it would've been today, this morning.
Oh, is it weekly or bi-weekly?
It's bi-weekly, before council meetings.
Okay, so why don't we do the first one, let's do it a month out, not this next council, but the following council, and then after that, make it a routine.
Hang on,
Oh, you're not gonna be here?
I don't know. Well, you know how it is when things start warming up, you know?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, you still work.
Yeah, I still work.
What day are we looking at, I'm sorry?
16.
Today's the 16th.
So 16th of March.
That, I can still make that.
Okay, good. Does that work for everybody? Gives you guys a little bit of time to start having those discussions? And I would say you could start having this discussion without having to get everybody on a Teams call and start thinking.
Yep. So you would just need a motion to postpone this item to March 16th for a committee of the whole meeting.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to,
Motion to postpone this until March 16th.
got a motion? Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're covered, Elaine, on everything? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, and we are now adjourned. Thank you.